Today, Factortv is honored to host the head of the European Union delegation to Armenia, Andrea Wiktorin. Thank you, Your Excellency, for this opportunity. Madam Ambassador, it will be 1 year since the SEPA has entered into force on March 1st of this year. The reform agenda includes almost 3 dozen areas and has 350 actions that are supposed to bring regulation in 30 areas closer to the European standards. Almost a year on, how would you assess the progress?
Well, may I first correct, we signed this agreement on the 24th of November 2017. And after we signed it, and after we had the new government of Prime Minister Pashinyan, we started our collaboration on this. So we are very proud that the Armenian government made a roadmap for reforms and took SEPA as a blueprint. So this was the beginning, and we were active from the beginning to implement certain actions, and we covered quite a lot of chapters. So there I think we saw a clear will of reforms, and we made progress. Since last year, since the full entry into force, let's say the full-fledged agreement is now the basis of our cooperation, so we have additional chapters. For example, now we are coping more, or additionally, with education, with culture and science, with tech development, statistics. There are new chapters that came into it. We already started to cooperate on them, and I think in many areas we made success. It is perhaps not always to be seen for the citizen, because a lot of work we do together is really bringing in European standards to make both the trade, economic cooperation, but also the political cooperation easier, and to open more markets for Armenia. I think this is also one of the really important issues. But from the beginning we started to work on regional development. I think this is very important, because Yerevan, you know, is not Armenia. And we really have to enter into the phase also to have smaller communities to develop. So this is one of the big areas. We were from the beginning quite active in the field of environment. And we really started, and this was a wish of the Armenian government, EU for Yerevan, one of our big projects to really make this wonderful lake again, the organ that brings life to your country. These are just some examples, but I think there we progress, and we discuss it together, and the most important, we also discuss it with civil society, because this is for us very important to get the input of civil society, also sometimes the criticism, to discuss how we can improve our cooperation.
Thank you for clarification. My next question is again about the SEPA, because it represents an important milestone for the Armenian-EU relations. And one of the most important areas of cooperation is the strengthening democratic institutions in Armenia. How would you evaluate the steps that the Armenian government taken in this direction?
Well, I think we see a will of the Armenian government to develop really reforms, and this is, for us, it is the most important. We are supporting, let's say, credible, transparent, and independent institutions, and this we can see. I'll give you one example, which for me is a very important partner. This is the Office of the Human Rights Defender of the Republic of Armenia. Because, and I can tell you, even when I was here before, I worked together with the Office of the Ombudsman. This is a watchdog that is standing up for the rights of the people. I think it is extremely important. And they tackle a lot of questions. And we are having a cooperation with the Office of the Ombudsman. We just kicked off, let's say, a program which is really accountable institutions and human rights here in Armenia, which we do together with the UNDP, UNICEF, UNFPA and OSCE. I think this is very important, but we also try to strengthen, let's say, institutions or committees under the government. We can talk about State Revenue Committee, we have Cooperation, Customs Committee. All these are elements which are covered by SEPA, and we also have sector dialogues with many of these institutions to see the development, to have a clear, let's say, assessment how the cooperation developed and what we can do more. I think, and this is also a sort of checks and balances that we see how we can develop further.
Yeah. Recently, the European Union has allocated more than 30 million euros for the justice and anti-corruption reforms in Armenia. Would you consider the reform satisfactory?
Well, I think Armenia had over the last 1.5 years a really difficult time. But although there are people who do not like it, if I say so, and it is not me or it is not the EU delegation, these are the EU institutions. We had the impression, and we did a thorough checkup, that there is a clear willingness, and we gave, even in the very difficult period after the war, we gave the budget support for the judiciary reform. Naturally, I think some things were slowed down. We have to continue them. We should not give up. We have to be really careful to see that the judiciary remains independent and that there is no pressure. So I think there we are observing the situation, and if we see difficult things, we will raise them with the authorities directly.
Okay. Madam Ambassador, the European Union continues to be the largest donor for Armenia. Moreover, the EU increased its assistance to 2.6 billion euros for development, for the implementing of development programs in Armenia. All of areas of assistance are identified. 5 very important and crucial areas, directions for us. And I guess that it is very essential that these funds to be used purposefully, and the program's process should be as accountable and transparent as possible. So in this respect, what expectations do you have?
First, I have again to make the fact check. What you are talking about is the economic investment plan, which was announced mid of last year, when both first the Commissioner Vahey was here and then President Michel. What is this? This is an additional tool. We have a layer of bilateral cooperation and assistance per year, where we do a lot. And this is, again, this is linked to SEPA because we take the priorities together. So we have the bilateral assistance, the annual action plan. We have a plan how to develop the cooperation over the next 7 years. That is what we call a multi-indicative annual program, which we just discussed end of last year. And then we introduced this new instrument. So this is a combination of grants, which is a smaller part. Combined with a lot of instruments. It is loans, it means guarantees, it means blending. And we have a very close cooperation with the European financial institution, both the European Investment Bank and EBRD, where we already work together, but the idea is really to trigger bigger projects. And then the idea is, and this brings us to this big amount of money, that we can get private investment. So this is something which I think is a target for both sides. Also we want to see a success, but also the government. Now, it is a very clear and transparent process, and there are some misunderstandings, because some people believe that I have a bucket with 2.6 billion under my desk. I don't have. So we have to develop mature programs and projects where we then can both attract the banks, also the EBRD and EIB, but then also to convince investors to get into it. And the areas we are targeting is naturally economy means small and medium-sized enterprises, very important. We are thinking about naturally transport links, especially in the south, the north-south connection, but we are also thinking about digital, tech, science, what we can do more together, and
ecology also about.
Yeah. This is always important for us. So here we say green Yerevan, and we have Syunik. Syunik is for us now an area where we will really try to invest more. I visited this region last year after the May events, and I was very much touched, and I know that also my colleagues in headquarters, we want to do more with the south of Armenia because we think this is very important. And another topic, the old teacher comes back, is we also want to target education. We do already a lot in the field of STEM, but I hope, for example, that the government finalizes the education strategy and that there will be a transparent and open debate with the public, because everybody is a teacher, everybody knows how to do it, but we need a public debate, and then I think this is one of the areas which will be decisive for the future of Armenia.
Very interesting. Madam Ambassador, we should use the opportunity and speak with you also about the security problems in our region and about the ways that the EU offer for resolving these problems. Recently, European Union's envoys visited Azerbaijan and Armenia to discuss ongoing efforts to escalate tensions along the borders of Armenia and Azerbaijan. European Union's special representative to the South Caucasus and crisis in Georgia, Toivo Klar, said that they wanted to, and I want to quote, follow up on December meetings in Brussels held by Aliyev and Nikol Pashinyan, and organized by the President of European Council, Charles Michel. As it was stated in December, the EU planned to send a mission and make expert assistance during the process of border delimitation and demarcation borders of Armenia and Azerbaijan. We would like to know, could you tell us where the process is and what kind of steps have been taken in this regard?
Well, first of all, I should refer to Toivo Klar, who gave 3 interviews when he was here or in the days after.
I watched it.
Yeah, I think it is a process. We offer expertise, and we naturally have to discuss this with both the Armenian and the Azeri side. It was very important. I think the visit of Toivo showed together, by the way, for the first time with the advisor of President Macron, because France is having the presidency of the European Council, so this was a joint effort, really to do more. We stand ready. If you want, it is a longer process, because it was not only in December, it was, let's say, when President Michel visited Armenia last year. In July, he offered assistance in various fields. We also, we are engaged in the humanitarian issues. Yeah, we continue to be, so we will not stop this initiative. But I think we have also to listen what our two partner countries think and how they want to proceed. But the offer is on the table.
There was a conversation between Toivo Klar and with the Deputy Foreign Minister of Russia, Rudenko.
Yes.
They discussed the regional problems and also the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Could we see any ties between this conversation and the Brussels agreements?
Well, I think there are a lot of rumors about the European Union, but you have to understand the European Union is an open partner. And we offer, let's say, our support, our cooperation, as much as our partners want it. So we are never working against somebody. And I think this latest phone call between Toivo Kla and Deputy Minister Rudenko is a sign of this. By the way, they are normally in contact, so it is not the first and will be not the last conversation. And before the meeting in December in Brussels, there was also a phone call of President Michel with President Putin. So yeah, you see, we are trying to discuss this, and I think there is a willingness at least to inform each other, and our support wants to add. We are not in concurrence to others. So, and we are, this is very clear, we are also always lining up with the co-chairs of the OSCE Minsk group.
So about humanitarian aid, the EU is allocating 10 million euros to support the population affected by the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. The EU Commissioner for Enlargement and European Neighbourhood Policy, Olivier Varhe, said that, I quote, the EU continues to work towards a more comprehensive conflict transformation and long-term socio-economic recovery and resilience of the region. This is an extremely needed assistance for us, and it will be interesting to know more about the specific programs.
Also this is very important because we really came in directly after the war, because we saw that there is a need of humanitarian assistance. We have to be fast to help the population affected, and I think before the 10 million we did more, so we really started directly. This has a very clear understanding, as it is humanitarian assistance. We cooperate in these cases with humanitarian organizations accredited in the European Union. So you have quite an amount of projects which are implemented by the ECRC, which has the advantage ECRC is acting in Karabakh, so there we could give direct assistance. And here in Armenia, also to help people in need with basic needs, also from food to other items. There we were very fast, and we did it together with, for example, institutions like World Vision, as I said, People in Need, which is a Czech organization, and we try to target really what can be done. It took us a certain while to make, let's say, cash assistance happen. There was a certain, feeling that perhaps this could be misused, but there we are working together with UN agency, with the World Food Program. They have a long experience. So this was really trying to target the direct needs. What I think is needed, and that's what we offered, is that we now have to come into a sort of midterm also economic recovery. So you have to think how you can give these people the opportunity to build their lives, the ones who cannot go back, that they can really develop also a financial basis for the family here. We have some good examples. We did the same with Armenian Syrian refugees. And it is funny because this is a project we do together with Austria, which is one of the projects which goes really near to my heart, because it is not giving the assistance and also psychological assistance. We have opportunities, and we have a business incubator, and this is very successful. And I always say the best shampoo you have is the one I have from this Iris project.
I wonder if there will be any projects about protecting human rights of the victims of the war.
Well, this is not part of let's say, the humanitarian assistance. I think we are in general paying great attention to the protection of human rights. This is one of our targets. and we are closely cooperating with civil society because we have different pillars in our way of cooperation. So we have the big programs which we introduce together with the government in certain regions, but we have in the same time always call for proposals for civil society. Your TV is part of one of these programs.
Thank you for it.
In the field of media. So we also in this existing programs we try to include people who were displaced, also to help them in their situation. Yes.
Your Excellency, 10 Armenian prisoners of war were returned from Baku with the mediation of the European Union. And despite of the fact that Armenia handed over all the maps of minefields, official Baku still holds the Armenian prisoners of war. Is the EU taking on more actions to intensify his efforts in this regard?
Again, I should say that we were active quite a while ago. So because there was also, before the last 10 prisoners that came back in December, we had another action where we worked together with the Americans, but also President Michel was personally involved in this. Yes, we will continue. And this is something which I think is very important, that you do this in direct contacts. This is nothing to do publicly, because you can always, if you go out too early, you can endanger a process, but you can be sure that the European Union, and we said it at different occasions, we will not give up, and we continue, because we consider this a very important issue. Yes.
Now about the recent developments in our foreign policy. Madam Ambassador, you know that Armenia and Turkey have made their first steps to normalize the relations between the two countries. The two special representatives have already their meeting in Moscow. We know that since 2014, the EU provided more than €4.5 million to support the projects aiming to prepare ground for the normalization process of two countries. EU also announced about the further support, the possible steps of this process. Could you tell us if the parties have already responded to your offer of help, and what kind of support the EU is ready to represent the parties now for the normalization?
I think everybody saw, and again, Toivo Klar, he is the person, he is also reaching out. We discussed it here, but he was also some months ago in Turkey, and underlines the importance we give to this normalization process. So I think it was quite clear we welcomed the first meeting, and we hope that this will really have a positive result. What we do and what we did is especially really bring together civil society. And this was ongoing. By the way, I can say that even as German ambassador, which was before, we as German did also something similar. So it is an effort of the European Union, but also by certain member states, to bring together people, because I think this is our understanding, that confidence building means that you sit together and talk to each other. And there we can perhaps also take some examples of the European history, that if you have enemies who are starting to at least listen to each other. And another lesson which I think I can take as a German, and I know President Michel also referred to the Second World War and the outcome, we learned as Germans together with France that the youth is very important. And this is something which we are also underlining. So for the time being, we will continue these efforts, and then we will see how the development will go.
A little bit of economic ties between Armenia and the European Union. Starting this year, Armenia is leaving the GSP Plus program, being classified as an upper middle income country according to World Bank. In this, it means that Armenian business will faced with difficulties, and it means that Armenian export to the EU will suffer, and the market of EU is the second largest for Armenia after the Eurasian Union's market. So we would like to know whether the European Union considering measures to prevent the Armenian-European economic relations from suffering in this situation.
I think as the European-Armenian or Armenian-European relations, economic relations will not suffer. It is really only in one area of exports to the European Union. Let's say what I saw from statistics, it's not a very big amount. It is important to prepare companies that export, that they have to comply with certain regulations. But overall, first I would say, but I'm an optimist, that this is a positive sign. It is a sign that even in a very difficult period, you became a middle income country. Yeah, so, as far as I saw statistics, it is less than 1% of your GDP. Also it is, what we do is we try to support, and we also have dialogue between, let's say, the Armenian institutions and the European Union in all the areas to promote trade. This is phytosanitary standards, which is my favorite, with all the regulation if you have food or other exports. But we are also trying to, let's say, bring our customs regulations nearer to each other. I think if we inform the delegation stands open if colleagues have questions, and I know that they address my colleague who is dealing with trade within the delegation. So, and we will try to continue really to promote stronger economic ties. By the way, I should also say we have a European Business Association who is also looking into possibilities. They are a little bit more concentrated. How can the European company enter the Armenian market? But what we do together, and I think this is let's say on the side of let's say legal framework, that we now had a round table where we brought together legal experts from one of our projects in the judiciary field, together with the business community, that they can say their expectations and necessity regarding court procedures, to have a faster court management, to reduce the backlogs, and really to do this kind. So we will continue to do our very best. I think that we develop our trade relations in the right direction, and if we really bring together companies, I think this will not be the big hurdle. It is more that we really inform about the possibilities. That is done both by the EBA but also by the delegation, and that we see the opportunities.
Now about the topic which worries the whole world.
Yes.
About the coronavirus. The COVID situation in Armenia continues to be very troubling. We see that the infection rates continue to remain high. Yeah. For example, one of the 3,956 cases of infection per day. Yeah. And the other hand, the vaccination rates are not satisfying here. No. The economy is shrinking as a result of restrictions. How would you evaluate our government's steps in resolving these problems? Where we failed?
I would not say you failed. I would say you are facing the same problem we are all facing in all our countries. And it is not only a government. It is, everybody blames the government for everything. So what I see is there were a regulation introduced, but they were not followed. So we are in close contact with the Ministry of Health. The European Union, with the beginning of the pandemic, tried to support, and we gave this 92 million package, which was not only addressing the health sector, but also to see how we can ease a midterm recovery of the country, economic and social recovery of the country, which should be green, by the way. I have to say it again. We did not only discuss what we can do together to improve the health situation. We gave quite a lot of donation of medical assistance. We helped to bring in vaccines. We are still doing this. I hope that soon we will have a next delivery. But we have to convince the people. And this is, I see what the Ministry of Health is saying. They say the right thing, only that I have the impression Armenians are not following it. And there are moments when I'm highly frustrated. It starts that nobody is wearing the mask, or you wear the mask somewhere in the face as a sort of decoration. And this is a very simple means of protection. And honestly, I do not know why. And I totally agree that we need to increase the vaccination rate. But I tried to follow it. I saw the right messages. By the way, we have also an awareness program together with WHO. I even got my first shot in front of a TV camera to motivate people. I think some people are afraid, and there is a second topic. There is a lot of misinformation, disinformation. I love best this conspiracy theory that you get a chip. So I have 4 chips in the meantime, because I'm 4 times vaccinated. Perhaps we have to appeal more to the responsibility of people, because when I see that you have a death rate over 8,000, which beats by far the victims of the war, then I think this should be a moment that people wake up and think of their loved ones and feel the responsibility also for your own environment, working environment, but also private environment. So we try to do our best to promote it, and we cannot say how things will develop. We are in a fog, so it is a work in progress. We learn. So in Germany, for example, that's why I have my booster. Now you need to have a booster, which means normally.
Yeah, I would like that to share the best experience of European experience against the fight of this disinformation, about the misinformation.
Yeah, and there we are also active as EU delegation here. We try to target this because media literacy is very important, and naturally each of us has to make a choice, but for me, you see, I have a responsibility for the people I work with. So I did my rapid test this morning. I do it really to check I'm safe and I'm also not a danger for the others. And I think we all have to learn that we are part of a big system. It cannot be only a governmental regulation. You have to implement it, and this is our own responsibility, I would say. Yeah.
Your Excellency, you were the German ambassador to Armenia. It is your second visit to Armenia as an ambassador of the European Union to Armenia. Your second appointment here was coincided with the difficult times of our country. First, COVID-19, then the war came. We have noticed your warm and kind attitude to our country, to our people. We would kindly ask your advice to the people how to shoulder difficulties, these current difficulties. What is your motto on these situations?
First of all, I think you have to recognize that it was really a very difficult period. And everybody who loses somebody goes through a phase of sorrow. This is, you cannot avoid it. If you try to avoid it, it will come back to you. So this is something we have to learn. And it can be helpful to look for support, for medical support, because it was a really difficult period. And then you have to turn it into opportunities. And I can give you a very personal and touching example. After the war, I was asked to meet some women who had lost either a husband or a son. And I must confess, it was a very difficult meeting in the beginning, to really feel the loss, because they first showed all the photos of their loved ones. And it was naturally a very sad moment. And then I asked them, what do you want to do? Do you have any plans? What do you intend to do for the future? And the atmosphere changed. Doesn't mean that the sorrow goes away, but suddenly there was, let's say, an attitude that was forward-looking. And the moment you intend to make plans, I think it can get a little bit easier. So I'm a positive person, but I think it is really important that Armenians learn to identify their interests. So there is a certain period, naturally I'm historian, I would never forget the history because this is the root of your existence, but you need to develop the ideas where you want to head to. And I would really say that it is important to look to see the young people. You have so bright and talented young people, and you have also to give them a certain optimism that they stay in this country, that they are willing to engage. So always when I meet my young European ambassadors, I'm totally enthusiastic. And this means that doesn't mean that you forgot what happened, but if you just remain in this status, you will not advance. So, and I'm very convinced that there are many good ideas outside in this country, how to develop further the future. And I think every Armenian should think what they want to achieve, personally, but also as a nation, and together with initiatives. And I can only encourage people to take initiative, because the moment you engage, you feel better. So I think in such a difficult period, it is important. And coming back to security, what we try to do is we show that we are interested. That's why we want to go to Syunik, because I think it is very important to support the South. Yeah, this is also to give the people hope. But I've seen young people when I was last year in Kapan, and they said we have nothing, and this is something which is in my head. And sometimes you simply have to start with very small actions. Clean the park. Make a little concert, have 3 people with a guitar. This is a small beginning. It is not solving all the problems, that's not what I say, but it can change your own attitude if you really try to promote something. And that's what the young people I see around me, they were all disappointed, but now they want to do something for the better of this country, and I think this is a way to overcome this difficult period. And also that you learn to show the beautiful sides of your country, or you show the interesting production, or you show the culture. Also not to find the negative element, but to find the positive element that impresses others who come here.
Yeah, very motivative and positive. Thank you for very interesting interview, Your Excellency. Our host today was the head of the European Union delegation to Armenia, Ambassador Andrea Wiktorin. Thank you for joining us.
you.